Let's say you have this situation with 70-volt ceiling speakers. Say they're mounted 20 feet high, and you have an ambient noise level of 85 dB SPL. And what you need to know is how loud each speaker needs to be and what tap setting that relates to, so that you can choose an amplifier. To choose an amplifier, you have to add up the tap settings of all the speakers. So from this information, we need to come up with a tap setting, an appropriate tap setting for that speaker. Okay. Well, first of all, we know the ambient noise level is 85 dB SPL. We know the speaker's mounted 20 feet high. So what we need at 15 feet below the speaker, which is going to be the average listener's distance, we need to have 85 plus 6 dB, or 91 dB SPL. Okay, so 15 feet in front of the speaker, we need to have at least 91 dB SPL. So what we need the speaker to put out is 91 dB SPL plus any loss that will occur along the 15 feet. To calculate the loss along 15 feet of distance, we can use option F, which is the inverse square law. Press F. We're going to know the 4-foot reference output. Just say it's 0 dB for the moment. And we want to know, in front of a 0 dB source, 15 feet in front of that source, what's the loss? Well, you'd be down 11.48 dB SPL. So what we need that speaker to put out is going to be 91 dB, which is 6 dB above the ambient, plus the loss along 15 feet, which is 11.48. So 91 plus 11.48, we need 102.48 dB from our speaker. I'll press enter to get out of this. Now, using option E, which determines speaker output versus watts applied for 70-volt speakers, we need to find a tap setting that will give us 102.48 dB SPL at 4 feet. And we also need to account for wire loss. Let's say we're designing for a 20% power loss in the wiring. As you know, all centrally amplified systems are going to have some audio loss in the wiring, since they're directly driving the speakers. So we'll design for 20% power loss. I press E, and let's see from the specifications of the speaker, let's say that I know that at 4 feet with 1 watt applied, the speaker will put out 96 dB SPL. So we'll say we know 1 watt. We know at 1 watt at 4 feet it'll put out 96 dB SPL. And let's say we have different tap settings. Let's say there's let's say there's a 2 watt tap setting. All right, we put in a 2 watt tap setting, and we're designing for a 20% power loss. And you can see that at the 2 watt tap, assuming a 20% power loss, you'd have 98 dB at 4 feet. Well, that's not enough. So let's say we had a 5 watt tap setting, and again 20% power loss. Well, that would be just about right. A 5 watt tap setting, 20% power loss would give us 102.02. It's a little bit below what we need, but it would probably be close enough. If we wanted to go higher than that, we could have, let's say the speaker has a 7.5 watt tap setting, 7 1/2, and 20% power loss. At the 7.5 watt tap setting, you'd have 103.78 dB, so that would give us some headroom there also. But that's how you would determine the value that you'd need for the tap setting, knowing that you'd tap the speakers at 5 or 7.5 watts, and then you just add up all the tap settings for the room, go 20% higher than that, and you could choose your amplifier value.